All right. Did you know you needed to have a license to actually be an interior designer in some states, or like it's even a florist in Louisiana? Hell, you even need to be like a gas pumper needs to have a license to actually do that in New Jersey, because New Jersey, they just don't trust you to pump your gas tank, I guess. But you put an 18-year-old behind a Hellcat and you're pretty much golden, because there's no actual, special licensing to run a 700 horsepower car. Just let her eat. I'm Alex, AlexMartini with 2 underscores on Instagram, and today we're talking about cars, more specifically on if sports cars should have special driver's license. So before we even get into it, I want you to go in the comment section, let me know if you think anyone in particular needs to go get their licensing renewed. I'm talking to you, old dirty Frank, okay? Or if you should need a driver's license to drive a high performance vehicle. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Okay, and please don't forget to subscribe and hit the goddamn bell button, because YouTube keeps yelling at me and says that I'm bad at doing that. So anything that has to do with needing any sort of additional regulations, I pretty much just kind of like toss out of any sort of conversation with me. When I saw this article, to me, I felt kind of like it was one of those things where it's just like, oh, we should just license everything. You should need a permit for everything. You need a permit to hunt, fish, camp, pretty much outside. So I'm like, I don't really think this is something that I can really, play with. But then I really started to think about it to where there's a lot more going on in having a high performance vehicle out there that an 18-year-old or 16-year-old can drive and not have any sort of special licensing for it. Specifically because I keep going on TikTok and there's 17-year-olds selling online trading courses when they haven't even learned how to like wipe their own ass, yet somehow they're talking about how they own Lamborghinis and Huracans and Ferraris and they're all self-made. I'm not entirely sure how that works. I'm more concerned that their foot can even reach the gas pedal, to be completely honest, but that's okay. I'm not ageist. I'm just saying it just seems a little peculiar is all right? So first thing that has to be like thought about though, before you even get into thinking if a license should be required for high performance vehicles, is that high performance is kind of vague, I think. There's actually just more powerful vehicles out there today than there were in the past. And I actually had to pull up a quote. Okay, so from 1985, probably before you were born, to model year 2015, okay, mean vehicle power, which is just nothing more than how much horsepower per 100 pounds of vehicle weight, increased by 60% for cars, 65% for pickup trucks, and 66% for SUVs, okay? That is massive. That just means that there's more power per pound out there on the road today than there was in 1985. Now, obviously, the EPA kind of did a little bit of around with that, but besides the point. A 3-unit increase in horsepower per 100 pounds of vehicle weight was associated with a 38% increase in the likelihood of a vehicle exceeding the speed limit by more than 10 miles an hour. Now, that is not touchy-feely stuff, okay? This isn't the political election, okay? This is cold, hard facts, all right? Brought to you by the state of freedom automotive enthusiasts backing AlexMartini, okay? It's a fact that if you have more horsepower, you tend to speed more. But that doesn't actually inherently mean that just because you have more horsepower, that means that you're in more accidents, which is the whole point of having an additional license to do this. So like power hasn't actually resulted in more accidents. That's just how it is. I'm just sharing the facts, okay? And to like vet that claim that higher horsepower cars does not mean more accidents, the Progressive Group actually did a study on 12 million private passenger cars, okay? It insured over a 3-year period and found that cars with more than 200 horsepower are involved in an average of 17% fewer insurance claims. Good on you, BRZ community, FRS boys, Mazda Miata. Wait, nope, they have less than 200 actually. Okay, 17% fewer auto insurance claims than those with 200 horsepower or less, which is actually really hilarious. So you can look at your Miata guys and you can tell them that they're f***ing you on your insurance claim, because if they have less than 200 horsepower, they are claiming more damage than those with higher horsepower. Do what you want with that. I'm just spreading the facts, man. I'm just sharing what I think the audience ought to know, okay? On top of that, something else that I think is very interesting, car brands with the most accidents in 2022, not Ferrari, okay? But it has to be per group capita, so that's not really fair. I mean, anyway, clickbait. Hyundai, Mazda, Volkswagen, Subaru, and Ram are the car brands with the most accidents in 2022. So the Hyundai N-Line, big mistake, okay? Mazda Speed 3, they don't make those anymore. Volkswagen, Dieselgate, get out of the way. More like accident gate up in here, okay? Subaru shouldn't be a surprise. Subaru drivers, I'm shocked, can even make it onto the road without crashing. And Ram is also not a surprise because they're on my ass every single time I'm in the left lane, okay? So that does kind of start to beg the question, like, would require licensing, like renewals, be a bad thing? Maybe not necessarily for high performance vehicles, but what about just like licensing renews? Like, you go from one state to the next, I swear to God, you could be blind in one eye, not know what you're doing, and somehow still pass getting your driver's license. And then it doesn't need to be renewed. So when you're 65, right, there are people that are still driving on the road that have not had to retake their license that existed in like multiple world recessions and world wars, like the early 1920s. They're still hopping in Pontiacs. They're still hopping in their Bonnievilles, and they're still hopping along with absolutely no regard to anyone around them because they're 110 years old, and if they die, they die. They don't really give a shit, to be completely honest, and nor should they. But maybe taking another driver's license test may not be a bad thing. I think the elderly might need to be there, but there could also be a thing where, like, if you own a car with 600 horsepower, you may have to pass one as well, because in all honesty, I'm not worried about the older folk having one. I'm worried about, you know, somebody hopping in an E63 SAMG. That's a lot of power, okay? There's not people like you and me, but there are people out there, okay? I could also talk about the fact that EVs are now making up a consistently increased amount of market share accidents because they're bragging about their 0 to 60 time, but I don't really think we have that much time. But like, what do you think about that concept? Because things like the 350Z has a fatal accident rate that's almost double of other sports cars, right? But at the same time, it is also one of the most popular sports cars amongst teen drivers, who are on average involved in more car crashes. But that does not inherently mean that horsepower means that there needs to be additional licensing. It just means that it would make me feel better on every single Hellcat I see on the road, potentially being driven by somebody that knows that when they push the pedal to the ground, the back end of the car does have a chance to go sideways a little bit. Or maybe there should be an EV license registration, because if I see one more person whoop my ass at the quarter-mile strip on drag because they have a Tesla Plaid, okay, but yet they don't know how to actually control the car, I'm also gonna lose my mind. Thank God for Elon Musk building an actual system that works well for 0 to 60 times, but it's besides the point. You guys let me know what you think about this. This is something that's always been really interesting to me. I just think old people should get, you know, they should go back in there, they should get double checked, you know, what color is this, green, yellow, red? Do you know what a turn signal is? Do you remember that there's more than one lane on roads anymore? I'm Alex, Alex.Martini with 2 underscores. We talked about cars, and we will see you later. Peace.